What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, I'm looking at some of these harrowing photos coming out of Gaza Strip, and it's just absolutely horrendous. Like little babies and kids being brought out from underneath rubble, the incessant bombings and air raids on the area. And interestingly enough, before this conflict started, I really thought the Arab world were getting their act together in the form of unification, in the form of support. Surviving um, Hussein, surviving Gaddafi, surviving the Arab Spring. And I thought at this point in time, the Arab world, especially with the rise of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and their great financial health, I really thought this was going to be the era, kind of like a green spring, and that the Arab world was coming to a point of prosperity. But when I look at how the Palestinians have been relatively abandoned, I am shocked, considering the health and position of their Arab cousins. And this is one thing I would have to say that the Africans actually went up the Arabs on, because when I think about a somewhat similar scenario, apartheid South Africa, now there was three levers that brought down apartheid South Africa. One was the indigenous resistance of the people of South Africa against the apartheid government, such as Israel's fighting Al Qasim, and Hamas within the Palestinian network to resist Israeli occupation. There was the outside pressure economically, which the world put on apartheid South Africa, something Israel is not dealing with at the moment. And then lastly, it was the regional pressure in a very active way. Um, the neighbors of apartheid South Africa made apartheid South African country, the government, life hell. Whether as these African countries came about and basically came into their own and a self-realization of who they are in a sense of their independence, they fiercely resisted any colonial rule. And not only that, but then they started to help out their neighbors. And you can see that with Angola, Namibia, Mozambique, all these neighbors around South Africa, harboring groups of South African resistance to attack and strategize and plan attacks into South Africa. And eventually all these pressures was able to make the apartheid South African government capitulate. And I'm looking at these countries, such as big countries such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Qatar is a smaller country but they're really big on the political front, and I know they're doing a lot of negotiation behind the scenes. The Houthis are doing what they can in Yemen to try to mitigate shipments to Israel, but that's very, very confined, that ability to act and get things done. But these major players, Saudi Arabia seeks to be the leader of the Arab world. How can you call yourself the leader of the Arab world with what's going on in Palestine on a daily basis? There is no attempt to, in my opinion, bring an immediate cessation of violence to the Gaza Strip, and I just find that interesting. So, it feels a point that Palestine has almost been abandoned by their Arab neighbors. Because when you look at the flags of many of these countries, red, white, black, green, these are pan-Arabic countries. These are pan-Arabic colors, and these countries, by using these colors in their flags, to me, are adopting an ethos of brotherhood and kinsmanship. So to see the horrific photos come out of the Gaza Strip every single day, and for these countries to not raise their hand and say enough is enough, either they're, we would say, apathetic or extremely neutered in some form, where they feel as though they cannot act in a meaningful or successful way. So we'll continue to see how these things develop, but I find the sidelining of countries such as Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Jordan in this conflict, and their inability to stop the suffering that's going on in these Palestinian regions. I just find that stupefying. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please comment below, like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.